Welcome back to the next part in this series on trying to understand in a deeper way the issue of anti-Semitism. In the last video, the last part, we looked at some explanations that are given for why anti-Semitism exists. And we went deeper to understand, are these really the reasons why anti-Semitism exists? Or are they just excuses? We looked at the explanations of that Jews are rich and powerful, that Jews are the chosen people and think they're better, and the idea that Jews are a scapegoat, that they're just in the wrong place at the wrong time. And we saw that all three don't really make sense logically to be the real core reason why anti-Semitism exists. We're going to continue on now to the three other explanations that were given. The next explanation is the idea of deicide, that Jews killed Jesus, and this is the reason why anti-Semitism exists. Now, this is a pretty easy one to understand. There's no doubt that many Jews have been killed over the last 2 millennia because of the accusation of that Jews killed Jesus. Was this really the reason, the core reason why anti-Semitism exists in the world? Of course not. Anti-Semitism happens in Muslim countries, right? Anti-Semitism existed before Christianity even was in existence, going back, like you mentioned in one of the earlier parts about the story of Haman and Purim, when Jews were literally put up for extinction before Christianity even existed. So of course, Christianity, even though unfortunately so many Jews, I would say as an excuse, have been persecuted because of this claim of killing Jesus, in reality, anti-Semitism exists before it and exists in so many other forums that have nothing to do with this issue. The next issue we talked about, or the other next explanation, the fifth explanation, is the explanation that Jews are different. We look different, we keep to ourselves, we eat different food, etc., etc. And the truth is, in many places Jews have gone, we have been different. We've been the minority, we've been the wandering Jew, we've often not fit into the society that we're living amongst. But is this really why anti-Semitism exists? So as we used a similar logic before, are there times in Jewish history where Jews did not stick out? They were not the outsiders. They tried to become like the people around them. They tried to assimilate into the greater society. If so, we would expect, if this is the reason why Jews are hated, because we're different, we'd expect if Jews assimilate, then anti-Semitism should go away. But in fact, we know, again, that that is not true. In the 1800s, two of the most enlightened countries in the world were France and Germany. They were also two countries that had the highest assimilation rates of Jews. Jews became en masse part of the greater German and French societies. In 1899, there was a famous famous affair called the Dreyfus Affair. Albert Dreyfus was the highest ranking Jew ever in the French army. And he was accused of being a spy. He was accused of espionage. And he was put on trial. It was the trial of the century. I don't know, me growing up, it was in my day, it was the OJ trial. I'm sure today, you know, there's other modern day trials, right? That the whole world was watching. CNN, Fox News, right? Everybody was there. Of course, that wasn't exactly that way for the Dreyfus Affair, but the world was watching. It was on the front page of the New York Times. And he was accused of being a spy, but there were many people who said, this is anti-Semitism. It's only because he's a Jew that he's being targeted. There was a young journalist from Vienna who came to cover this trial. His name was Theodor Herzl. Theodor Herzl later on would become really the modern day founder of the idea that Jews should come back to the land of Israel. At that point, though, that had not yet entered his mind. He was a journalist. And he writes in his writings, he describes himself as not a very religious Jew, not a very connected Jew, not a very knowledgeable Jew. And he actually writes that he felt that the reason why anti-Semitism existed is because exactly this issue. Jews are different. We stick out, we act differently. And what was Herzl's solution to end anti-Semitism? Stop being different, assimilate, start being just like the people around us, and we won't be hated. Herzl shows up in Paris in 1899. And what does he find? Literally in the streets of Paris, the most civilized place in the world, literally there's chants, death to Dreyfus, death to the Jews. There was literally Jewish storefronts were looted. Jews were attacked in the streets. there was this unbelievable battle going on and against the Jews. And Herzl saw this and he said, what is going on? Dreyfus is this epitome of the assimilated Jew. Jews are assimilating everywhere, but yet anti-Semitism is still rearing its head. And Herzl said at that point, that's really where he got his idea, saying we are not going to end anti-Semitism by being different. In fact, we need to go back to our original national homeland, Israel. And again, this idea in Germany, France, assimilating did not get rid of the anti-Semitism. It even made it worse. Finally, the last explanation that we gave of why anti-Semitism exists is the racial theory. This was what was put forward by the Nazis, who basically said that the Jews are an inferior race, right? Of course, you can't kill a human being, said Adolf Hitler. But the Jews, they're not human beings. They're rodents. They're vermin. They're an inferior race, and so it's okay to eradicate them. This is actually a picture that you're looking at now of a device that they would put on people's heads to be able to measure if they were true Aryans or not. But this was a racial issue. So the question is, are Jews a race, right? Are we a race of people? And the answer, of course, is no. Jews come from all races. Jews come from Africa. They come from Asia. They came from North and South America, come from Europe, right? Jews of every color. And anyone can convert and become part of the Jewish people, right? This idea of that Jews are an inferior race, it just makes no sense because Jews are not a race. We are of all colors, of all four corners of the globe. What's also very interesting is that this idea that Jews are hated because we're different, or excuse me, because we're inferior, really puts the Jew in between a rock and a hard place. Put these last two explanations together. We're hated because we're different, because we look different, because we keep to ourselves. So what does a Jew do? He assimilates. And then what is this last explanation? They're trying to assimilate. They're trying to become like us. These inferior people, these people that are of a lower race, they're trying to infiltrate our race. That is what the Nazis said. So again, remember in the very beginning, we talked about how illogical anti-Semitism is. This is a classical example. So we see really all of these explanations given for anti-Semitism, each one within itself does not seem to be the real reason, the core reason why anti-Semitism exists. The question is, why does it? We might even ask a question before that. You know, many people I've spoken to about this will say, well, maybe it's a combination of these explanations. And sometimes in history, it was because Jews are rich and powerful. Sometimes in history, it was because we were different. Sometimes it was because we killed Jesus. It's a combination. And maybe that's true. That could be true. But I would ask you a question. Would it make more sense that Jews, remember that map, if you followed me in part 1, Jews were expelled and hated and literally attacked in all these different countries, in all these different years, in all these different places. Would it make sense that that all happened for all different random reasons? It just happened to be that this one people, wherever they went, they were hated for different reasons. I mean, we would not only be the most hated people, we'd be the most unlucky people. Or would it make more sense that there's one core reason, that wherever we went, that core reason is what caused the anti-Semitism? It could be it's a combination, but I would just, if you think about it, I would put forth that it would make more sense that there's one core reason why anti-Semitism exists. And in the last video, the next part, we're going to try to examine maybe what that reason might be.